Welcome to part 3 of the Inventgeek turret build. Today we're going to be doing the turret upper portion and our mounts. So if you've taken and followed the plans we've got, or one of our kits, this is what the upper cradle looks like. Pretty straightforward design, very simple. And then we have this. So we're in a cradle. This is what holds the paintball gun. Okay? So what we've got to do is basically give the ability to move this in this space. Pretty straightforward on how to do that, and we're going to walk you through it. We're going to swap between two different models here, hopefully so you can have a better understanding of what this looks like. So one of the most important things about this is this little hole right here. The way that we've designed this is we're actually going to kind of sandwich a bearing in here. Now, this is a 3/4 inch bearing, and as you can see, it fits in there nice and snug, but it protrudes just slightly. So what we need to do is we need to wrap this bearing, and to do this, what we've done is we've taken and built these little mounts, and this actually is two pieces glued together, and you can see that little hole inside. We've got basically a 1/8 and a 1/4 inch thick piece of plexiglass. And what we do is we just take and put it on here, we line up the holes, and that's so that we can put a screw through it. On the other side of that, we have these. Now, the holes, the small holes here, are actually smaller in size than these. And the reason for that is so that you can actually just take and screw your screw directly into this. So if we take that, we put it on the opposite side, we are now encasing the bearing, and we take our screw and we can run it all the way through. Now, these screws that I'm using here are slightly on the long side. It's ideal if you're able to use a 3/4 inch long screw. But for demonstration purposes, I felt that this was just fine. Just take my screwdriver, I'm going to tighten this down just a bit. Excellent. And so you can see we've got our bearing, move out of the light there, bearing sandwiched in the side of our turret. Now, why are we doing that? There's a couple reasons. First and foremost is we want to have something that's durable. Secondly is we want to be able to take and protect these bearings as much as possible from wind and rain and snow and dirt and, of course, our paintball paint. Here is one of our axles here, as you can see. And this is what our cradle basically rides in. Okay, so now let's talk about motion. We want to make this thing move. We've got something that'll hold it securely, not wear out prematurely. So we're going to bring over our other model, and this, as we can see, has the motor mounted in it. And the motor mount's pretty straightforward. We have a notch, or you can glue it flat on. And then we have a rear cradle that matches the contour of the motor. This is a 9-pin 9-tooth, should I say, sprocket. We're using number 25 roller chain. Okay, everything's number 25 here. Now we've gone ahead and we've taken and encased our bearings. Our screws are not protruding, and something that's unique and worth pointing out here is this side has a hole. Okay, and the reason this side has a hole is so that we can take our axle and actually push it all the way through. Okay, so step one is going to be lining everything up. Now, we've already got this mostly assembled, so what we need to be doing is we need to be kind of stacking things. We've got some lock collars. These are available at any hardware store. This is a 1/4 inch lock collar so that it fits our shaft here. Kind of a tip when it comes to the shafts. Generally, you'll get an end that is machined from the factory. when you take your hacksaw and you cut it, let's see if I can really show this, you'll get a burr. Now if you take some sandpaper, there we go. If you take some sandpaper and just take and sand that off, it's not a big deal. However, this one I have not sanded yet, so I can only put these on one direction. They actually get stuck at the end. Now, in this case, that's not a bad deal for me, and you'll see why here in a moment. So I'm going to start with one of these, being that I'm going to be threading through our turret. I need to get everything kind of in sequence here so that we can lock everything together. So we've got our first collar. I'm going to add a second collar, a third collar. We're going to add the cradle, yet another collar, and another collar. I'm going to push this through. Now we get into our main sprocket, drive sprocket. This is a 13, anywhere between a 13 and a 20 pin is ideal because we're trying to gear down this motor. We'll demonstrate that here in a minute. One thing that I've done is we have a little extra space in the metal around here, and what I've done is I've taken and drilled a hole. And I have a corresponding hole, which I'm glad that I'm discussing this now because I need to flip this around, but I'll show you. I have a corresponding hole right here, and we can see that that lines up. There we go. Okay, even better. Now the purpose of that is we've got a drive pin, so I'm going to go ahead and push all this through again. And we're going to add our gear to the other side. Sprocket side out. You can see we're starting to get just a bit tight here. Okay. I'll bring this down so hopefully we can see this just a little bit better, because it is very important to get this right. Now I don't have much space, but I need to get in one more collar. And the purpose of the collars is to ensure that everything is nice and tight. There's no play, no slop. There we go. And then finally, push it all the way into the other side, and there we have our cradle. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get an Allen wrench, and we're going to tighten these up. So we're going to start on this side. We're going to tighten this. I'm not going to tighten this guy yet. Okay, we're going to come over here. We're going to tighten these up, and we want to ensure we've got some spacing between them. And finally this outer one. What that does is that creates just a slight amount of tension. It wants to pull itself in. Alright. Cradle's happily in place. So now we need to lock this in place. To do that, I've just got a short screw here. A small piece of metal cut as a pin would work. And we're going to take and insert it into our gear. Or should I say into that hole that we drilled in our gear. Now with this one, because it's threaded, I'm going to just drive this home with a screwdriver, and that will ensure for me that this isn't going to come out. Now you can see these collars, which again we're just keeping everything nice and tight in here. Lock that down. This collar could actually hold in a pin because it's tall enough. Alright. Now the final thing we need to do is grab our other Allen wrench,